A seemingly unsolvable mystery is who placed an alien egg on board this ship, the USS Sulaco. If we examine the evidence in painstaking detail, could it be that the answer was already there?
Alright, let's see what we can see.
First of all, we need to figure out what happened in the cryo chamber. Pay attention to this detail. Using that, we can figure out where everyone was placed. Newt and Ripley are at the very back, followed by Hicks and Bishop, also confirmed in this scene. Interestingly, the presence of the egg is already confirmed in Aliens. In the post-credits scene, we can hear facehuggers scurrying around the ship. So where exactly is this egg? Here we can see a hallway and a grating that leads to an upper level of some sort, which is where these light sources are coming from. There are also 6 of these dividers, which correspond perfectly to the 6 cryopod pairs. That means this entire area could be a maintenance and access sublevel located directly below the hypersleep chamber, as it seems to correspond in spacing, size, and function. That would place the egg right below Ripley and Newt, which is the first indication that this was planned. It also explains how the egg was triggered by the crew's presence just before they entered hypersleep. Here we see the facehugger working its way through the subflooring from that very sublevel where the egg was placed. Eventually it emerges, makes its way up to Ripley's spot, and somehow cracks the glass, probably using its acid. Clearly visible in this shot. It remains attached for some number of hours and then simply detaches itself, runs off, and dies. It's confirmed many times that this is how facehuggers work.
But each one of these things comes from an egg, right?
Yes, that follows.
The only explanation is a second egg that produced another facehugger that crawled its way up to Newt's spot. We actually see it here along with Newt. We know this is the one that spilled acid trying to break through, starting an electrical fire and causing the ejection of the pods. It hitched the ride on the pod into the EEV and made it onto Fury 161. So now we know that there were 2 eggs and that they were not anywhere near the dropship or the hangar area. One theory is that the Queen somehow did it, but we don't see her handling or carrying an egg, let alone 2 eggs. The only place she could have left them was the dropship landing gear, and we definitely know it's not there. The only off-screen sequence lasts only 12 seconds. She could not have come close to the cryo chamber, especially because we hear her in the hangar the whole time. So we can conclude that it's physically impossible for the Queen to have done it. However, this doesn't leave many options. Of the survivors that came back, if we eliminate Hicks, Ripley, and Newt, only Bishop is left.
We need a stretcher.
But we have a big problem here. Even if Bishop somehow got 2 eggs aboard the dropship, he could not have done anything with them. That's because as soon as he disembarked, he was attacked and disabled by the Queen. The eggs did not arrive with this dropship.
You know, that's very interesting, but it doesn't really get us anywhere, does it?
Does that mean that Bishop is cleared? Absolutely not. He is the only one able to place the eggs. He's an android, so without DNA, he's not a suitable host and would not trigger the egg. His exceptional strength also makes him the only one capable of handling them. For Bishop to have done it, he would need to obtain 2 eggs from the derelict and then fly them back and plant them on the Sulaco. It's the only place where eggs are easily available. The nest was heavily defended and only reached by Ripley. How could Bishop possibly grab the eggs and visit the Sulaco completely unnoticed? One theory is that that window of opportunity may have happened here.
How long?
Say 40 minutes to crawl down there.
Right.
An hour to patch in and line the antenna. 30 minutes to prep the ship. And about 50 minutes flight time.
It's gonna be close.
He has a 3-hour window here, but we know it's simply not enough time to make another round trip to the Sulaco to plant the eggs. That's because the flight time takes 50 minutes. But this scene puts an end to that theory. We see Bishop flying in the dropship on remote, and as soon as he lands it, he's joined by Ripley and Hicks. So now we know for sure nothing was brought aboard this dropship. Let's track Bishop from the very beginning. He drives the APC into the mission and remains on it as the Marines are deployed.
First squad up, online. Hicks, get yours in accord.
He gets out with the others and heads for the lab immediately. Once there, he starts learning everything he can about the xenomorph and studies it in the lab. Here we see Spunkmeyer bringing him some equipment, the first sign that they're working closely together.
Yo! Stop your grinning and drop
Once
your
the
lid.
colonists are found, Gorman quickly orders a rescue mission. Inexplicably, Bishop is staying behind. It doesn't make sense that Bishop would not be included on this critical part of the mission. A better explanation is that Bishop, Spunkmeyer, and Farrow now have a chance to retrieve the egg from the derelict as directed by the company. To see if he had a chance to do that, we can study the timeline as given by the mission recording. Here we see the timer read 22 minutes, which is roughly the halfway point of the trip. Once they land and get into the operations center, we see the timer is at 1 hour and 3 minutes. 4 hours and 15 minutes later, the Marines are in the atmosphere processor at 5:19. It only takes 15 more minutes until it all goes wrong, and this is the last time we see displayed. So let's put it all together. Mission starts at 0 and landing is at 50 minutes. It takes only 20 minutes until operations are secured at 1:03. Sometime after that, the hide raid is ordered and is already underway at 5:20. Extraction follows a short time after that at 6. So this is it, roughly a 5-hour window for Bishop to do his thing. With Spunkmeyer and Farrow's help, he would need to fly down to the derelict, rappel down into the chamber, grab an egg, put it back on the dropship, and then fly to the Sulaco. We know the derelict is not too far, because it was wiped out in the nuclear blast. We know this because in Alien Resurrection the samples were recovered from Fiorina and not from LV-426, which would have been much easier. We'll give it 10 minutes to fly down and 30 minutes to retrieve the egg. Flight back to the Sulaco is 50 minutes, planting the egg another half an hour, and flying back another 50 minutes. And they're back in time to finish the extraction with the same dropship. In conclusion, we see that it was most definitely Bishop.
Bishop!